Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows. Today I want to talk about John Wick Chapter 4. If you are completely unaware, the John Wick series is an action thriller with elements of crime drama that follows an assassin named John Wick. Due to a series of events, he's at war with the High Table, the heads of the organization he used to work for, and they want him dead. In the fourth installment, John starts targeting members of the table directly, and in the process finds a way to earn his freedom. The story is based on characters created by Derek Kolstad and was written by Shay Hatton and Michael Finch. The film was directed by Chad Stahelski and stars Keanu Reeves in the lead, with Bill Skarsgård playing the antagonist. Donnie Yen plays another assassin that faces off against Wick, and Shamir Anderson plays a mysterious third-party player that shakes everything up. To start off, I want to talk about how much I loved the visuals. Oh my god, this movie is the spectacle of a decade! Every single scene in the movie is shot on a set that looks extravagant beyond belief, and they make incredible use of the scenery when they're fighting. John Wick gets kicked off a ledge at one point, and we just see him fall 2 stories down this indoor waterfall and land on a grate below. There's water pouring down on top of him, and colorful lighting shining through the water. Then they fight in the mini waterfall. The whole film is filled with scenes like this, shots that are just so cinematic that you find yourself awestruck at the beauty of them. Then, there are the outdoor locations and sunrises and sunsets that they take advantage of. They take natural locations and film amazing fights and chases in them. There's a desert, several monuments of Paris, and a couple of street fights. At one point, they shot an entire fight scene at the steps leading up to Sacré-Cœur. John Wick fights his way up all those steps to have a duel at sunrise. Then you see that basilica in the background and the sun coming up with these crimson skies behind them as they start taking their paces, and your jaw just drops. Most of the movie is shot in wide angle, and it gives it this grandiose feeling. Everything and everywhere in the film is huge. You feel so small looking at these spaces, and there's so much going on in the background. They get experimental with it too. The camera isn't afraid to take on whole new angles that we're not used to seeing in films, if they've ever really been tried at all. At one point, this film turns into a top-down shooter with John Wick killing his way through a building, and we see everything from above. It had this incredible energy to it, and even though it felt a little video game-like, it's so well done that you don't care. The choreography is tight and perfectly executed, and in this scene they use incendiary bullets that make a big light show, and holy smokes does it ever look brutal. The fights in general are top-notch. The gun-fu style of shooting and trading blows works beautifully on camera, and the stunt team is filled with some of the best martial artists in the industry. Keanu Reeves does a fantastic job of physical acting in this film. His dedication to learning the choreography and doing as much of it himself as he can pays off, and we get some great fights from him. He's a little stiff on some of his lines, but the film sees him doing very little talking and a lot of physical movement, which he nails. Bill Skarsgård plays an obnoxious rich Frenchman and does an okay accent. He keeps it most of the time, but really gets into the emotions of the role. He understands the character and how arrogant he is, and he gives off these subtle little smirks that are almost invisible. I quickly hated the character, which was a good indicator that he was doing a decent job of acting smug. Donnie Yen plays a blind assassin that clashes with Wick in the film. He's great at pretending to be blind, always tapping around to find his footing, and the way he moves seems so unsure at times that it makes me think he really can't see. He does the emotions well, but only gets to do them for a little bit. His biggest contribution outside of his amazing stunt skills was his ability to make me laugh. He's funny in this film and gets most of the good lines. His timing is great. Shamir Anderson plays a tracker that shows up to find John Wick. He doesn't say much, but when he talks, he's so arrogant and self-assured that it's hard not to take him seriously. They gave Anderson a few big moments in this film, and he puts everything he's got into it. The scene of him accepting the deal was really hard to watch because his pain seems so real. Overall, the cast does a great job of their roles, but dialogue, conversation, and emotion aren't really a big part of the film. A majority of the film is dedicated to action sequences. The soundtrack is made up of iconic original songs that are either remixed or covered by a modern band. Songs like Paint It Black show up and are catchy when they do, but other than mildly fitting the mood of the scene and being worked into the DJ's jokes, they weren't that effective. I also found the music to be rather loud. At times it competes with the dialogue, and at others it almost overpowers the scenery, becoming even more prominent than some of the action. Story-wise, I think this film is really exciting with lots of well-written fights, but the story itself is filled with plot holes, and I constantly found myself questioning elements of it. The bulletproof suit that John uses doesn't make any sense. His ability to take damage is unparalleled, and there are so many movie moments. Scenes where things happen precisely so they can get a more cinematic-looking shot. Like at one point, John ambushes some guys in the desert and chases them down on horseback. It looks beautiful and it's a great chase scene, but all I could think was, where did he actually ambush these guys? Like, was he just sitting behind a rock in the desert in a suit on horseback, waiting for them to show up? These scenes make little sense, but if you can ignore the movie magic, it really does look amazing. Overall, the experience was incredible. Despite the high price tag, I would actually suggest you go see this in theaters. It was such an exciting visual journey that I was actually a little tired from how hard my heart was racing. The level of detail and creativity that they put into the fights and scenery is practically worth seeing all on their own. The cast does a decent job of their roles, the soundtrack has some banger tracks, even if they aren't all that effective, and even though the story is kind of silly, it's highly entertaining. It also tries things visually that I don't think I've ever seen before, and that alone gets another point from me. I'm going to see it again just for that sunset at the end. What a beautiful sight. 7 out of 10. And remember guys, those are just my thoughts on the film, so let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Bye!